Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the studio. I'm Eric C. Jackson. I did get it really wasn't a question, but from I'll call you JCL, wanted to know about how I got my work into international galleries or exhibitions. And so, what I want to do today is just basically tell you my story about how I got to where I ended up. And I do have to say that the international space or galleries for me, in my experience, has been easier for me to get into compared to here in the US. But I will say that it depends on your work. It really does. So for me, my work is fine art photography, and the issue I was running into is it is photography. So I would say if you're painting, sculpture, illustration, you'll have an easier time. Obviously, as long as the quality of your work is great, you'll have an easier time getting into galleries, whether it's, here in the US or abroad. But the first thing that I would say, just in general, is to develop your artist statement, your bio, and let me see what else I have. Just history, again, as far as telling your own story and what it inspires you to create your work. So, having all of that together as soon as possible is where you should start, and then your portfolio gets built on top of that, on that foundation. So let me see if I already have everything pulled up here. I'm gonna go, here we go. Okay. All right, so if I go to my About page, there we go. Now for this, I did update my bio picture, but I have my artist statement. Your artist statement is going to change as your career progresses. You can tweak it, you can change it altogether, but your artist statement is basically just a blurb of why you do what you do. And then it goes into just a description of the studio, what I do. And then there's my bio here. It's basically about me more so. It's like personal, some personal information. And then the history of it, for me, I have just a description of how I was when I was 6 years old, which is some of my first memories of where I started. Now, I know some people might say this has nothing to do with your art, like you're not showing me your artwork, but understanding why you create what you create, even the medium that you've chosen to use, having all of that rolled into your story is important for galleries to know. So I will say that definitely have that in there. So that would be step one. Artist statement, your bio, description of your studio or your gallery, your portfolio, and then the backstory, which is your history. I call it history. It can be backstory. And so again, it's just letting people know why you do what you do and how you got to where you are. So that's very important, because as I was listening to someone explain it last week, is that collectors and galleries don't just buy your art. They're making an investment into who you are, more so than anything else. And so once they get to know who you are, then that helps them to believe in what you're doing. right? So the next thing I have, that was step one. Artist statement, bio, and tell your history, your backstory. For step number two, I have earn your space, right? So the main thing that jumps out to me with this one is quantity. Well, I would say quality over quantity. That's what I want to say. Quality over quantity. So really don't concern yourself with how many pieces you have in your portfolio. Just make sure that they're all good. And one professor explained it to me as like if you have 12 to 15 pieces, you have to start with your weakest piece, right? And then everything has to get better from there. So out of the 12 to 15 pieces that you have, the ones that are the weakest, as far as like the bottom three, you're always bringing in or creating new work. And so those would drop out and be replaced by newer pieces of work or better pieces of work. And so that's what you would always strive for, is to have your best 12 to 15, I would say, of work. And for me, I put that under showcase, even though I have way more than 15 under here. But yeah, it's always shifting. It's always shifting. But this is just an overall picture of the type of work that I do and some pieces that are really my favorite. So it's all of my favorites. It's not really a series. It's not really consistent pieces of work, but you can do that as well, right? So instead of showing just your favorites from different collections or different series, you can take another approach and just pick out your favorite series from your portfolio or from your collection. So for me, I would say Clarity is up there as one of my favorites. And so in your portfolio, you would just show one series or a group of series that are together, that pieces that go together. You can also show, if your favorite is black and whites, then you can show those together. Or if it's a subject, landscapes or automobiles, portraits, just show all of those together, like your best 3 to 4 pieces together. Show that to galleries and collectors. But no matter if you're submitting your work in the States or overseas internationally, pick your best series of work, right? And then show those, because galleries also want to see consistency. So I would say go with your top 4 within a series and present each series like that with your top 3, 4 pieces in that particular series. And like for quarantine, I've got quite a few pieces in here. Yeah, there's 12. So I would pick out my top 4 and go with those. So like this one here is definitely top 4. This one, I like this one. This is quarantine number 8, which is one of my favorites. So you just go through the series and look at it and say, okay, which 4 do I want to present? And then you go with that. But wherever, if it's an art fair or you're presenting your work to a jury of curators, you have to get a gauge on where your work is as far as the quality, to understand if your work is good enough to be on exhibit, right? If your work isn't good enough, sometimes they'll tell you Um, in a rejection letter, sometimes they'll just tell you like flat out like your work isn't good enough. Sometimes you'll just get a generic rejection letter. I've had plenty of rejection letters. You know, I've gotten plenty over the years, but I would say, let me move this over here because I'm working with different screens. Yeah, I've gotten plenty of rejection letters over the years, and so you can't take it personally. You really can't. And then I've had some rejections come back and say your work is photography, and they're only looking for, more traditional forms of or mediums of art. So there's that. So you really have to, I guess that's kind of going into my third step. Let me make sure I got, okay. So still in step number 2, I would say you have to earn your space, develop your own art style, have an idea of what you like to do, because there's a lot of things you can photograph or a lot of things that you can create in terms of art. But what do you really, really like to do or love to do or have the most passion for doing in terms of subject matter or medium style? And stick with that, because that's going to become your signature. And you're probably not going to know that in the beginning, what your signature style is, but it's going to be developed as you try different things, and you'll lean towards, maybe you like color more than black and white or vice versa. Maybe you like abstract over something that's more realistic. You find all these things out through trial and error, and through creating multiple projects and series of work. So just start creating a lot of work. And then the ones that stick out, whether it's a single photo or a single piece or a particular series, there's going to be something that rises to the top that people are going to give more attention to. And then that's a direction that you can go into. The other thing I would say as well that helps is you can generate sales, generate engagement before you start selling. Because one of the things that happens is when you submit your portfolio, is galleries will often look at your social media and they'll look at your engagement. Can they see that you are generating sales? Are you posting about pieces being sold? Are you posting about you at different exhibitions or art fairs or in magazines or highlighting something like that? Do you have tear sheets? So do you already have an audience built in? Because there's so much competition in the art space, galleries want to, or they tend to play it safe more times than not. So if you already have a built-in audience that's really engaged, then it's a safer bet for them to bring you on board as a resident artist, because they know that you're already going to bring eyeballs, you're already going to bring an audience with you, right? And it's not just contacts coming from the gallery's own network, right? But for me, obviously, oh my gosh, I didn't have any contacts. I didn't have the engagement. I didn't have the network of people. It was just, I was posting my work online, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. I used to have a Tumblr. Now I'm on TikTok. I'm posting more on YouTube. And yeah, you just put yourself out there. But everything has to be consistent, right? So as far as consistency, you look at the website, there's my logo as far as the branding goes. So then when curators decide to visit my social media, because my social media is down here at the bottom. I've only got 4 links right now on here, but there's a bunch. So what you also want to do is on Google Business, have your own business on here or your studio on here, because they'll do a Google search or a Bing search. They'll search for you online, or I should say through the search engines. And so if you've been consistently posting your work, then the search engines are going to start picking that up. And that's just not here. That's for search engines overseas as well. They'll start picking you up. And so now this is my business profile on Google. And you register with Google. They send you a verification code in the mail so that they know you're a real person. And this is a very good start for making sure that the the search engines are aware that that you exist. So, so that's where I would start with social media. And then as you build your engagement on the other social media channels, the search engine for Google or wherever, it's going to start picking it up. So this is the website. This is Facebook. This is the website again. This is on Yelp. I built a profile there. This is Westcover, which Westcover is back. They did close last year, the end of last year. And then a couple weeks ago, they reopened because somebody bought them, right? They were short on funds and couldn't keep everything going. And then they found a partner site. And then I guess they either partner with them or the company bought them. But Westcover is definitely back. And here's the YouTube page. I was on X, then I left X, and now I'm back on X, but I really don't search through there very often, but it's there. And then again, there's Facebook, there's Instagram. So there's that. What I also want to go into is make sure that everything is consistent as far as your branding goes. So let's say I have all of my social media sites under this folder. Hopefully TikTok is up and running again. So again, here's the logo. And I mean, I started in 2012 officially. So my logo has been improved over the years, but just make sure that everything is consistent across all your social media platforms and your website. And then, of course, I registered the business with TikTok. So this is my business profile. Instagram, same thing. Logo's the same. I try to keep a certain style on Instagram, but yeah. This is everything that they're going to look at. And try, you don't post every few days, at least. I've been doing quite a bit of research and reading with the marketing more, and TikTok, Instagram, all of them, they're saying post every day, which I don't do, which I really don't do, but post I would say twice a week at least. And then if you want to add something with stories, then you can go ahead and go that direction as well, like posting more often. But for me right now, I'm more so focused on how I want to market certain things. So I'm not posting as often as I used to. But they're going to see if your social media channels are active. So I would say at least once a week, try to post something. And then Pinterest, I definitely have to work on. But I did update the, I guess the bio area here. And if you want your Pinterest verified, you for sure you can do it with Shopify. But since I left Shopify last year, I lost my blue check mark. And it's not the blue check mark that you pay for. It's like you actually earn the blue check mark. So when I left Shopify, I lost the check mark and I haven't been able to get it back. And my monthly views fell down like a lot. So I would say if that's important to you and you don't have this massive inventory to manage, then Shopify is definitely one of the web hosts that you can go with. And again, keeping your social media channels consistent, you can definitely earn the verified check mark on here. So, but yeah, I had to start over because everything was integrated through Shopify. So I have to post everything manually now until my current web host either changes something on their end so Pinterest can read the website correctly. I'm not sure, but I'll look into it and see if I can get everything reconnected and in sync. But that's my Pinterest and LinkedIn. It's here. It's here. That's all I can say about LinkedIn is I have it available. I do like the fact that you can categorize, well, I can categorize this page with artists and writers because a lot of times you can only pick one or the other, but on LinkedIn, artists and writers are under the same category. So now I feel like I don't have to have two different pages because I want to get the category right that my business is under. Facebook, I really don't interact with Facebook anymore, but it's here. And since they started tweaking everything with Meta, I really don't get much engagement on here, but there's so many people on Facebook that I figure I might as well have it. But until they do something or undo something with the algorithm, my engagement is just low to non-existent on here. So, but it's up. And like I said, X has been acting kind of funny lately, but I brought it back. I took away the blue check mark that I was paying for because it really didn't make that much of a difference in terms of engagement. Yeah, it really didn't make that much of a difference. The only thing that I liked about the blue check mark is you could write longer post. You just had a way more characters. Like you could write paragraphs in your tweet, and if you are not paying the monthly fee, it's like $8 a month. You don't have a lot of space, a lot of characters to use. So I just end up abbreviating everything that I want to say or say it in multiple posts. But yeah, the engagement, I felt like didn't change really at all. And I also felt like what I was saying on here was so heavily into politics or heavily into like the gossip, entertainment type stuff that goes on that I really just I'm not on here anymore. But like I'm into writing as well, and a lot of people that are in the screenwriting industry are still on X, right? So in terms of the politics side, it's split down the middle between Republicans and Democrats. It's almost 50-50 exactly. So there's still a lot of people on here. But again, like I said, I just want the business side of everything that I do just to focus on the business, right? And I didn't want to get too caught up into the whole, back and forth with politics, right? Because it just gets nonstop. But there's that. And I did open a Twitch channel, which I haven't started on yet. But this is for when I go live. And I used to do this on my old channel. I met a lot of photographers on here. Got a lot of questions. But my old channel wasn't geared towards my studio work. So I wanted to create a channel dedicated to the studio stuff. But you can meet people, you can network, you can get advice, just more connections, and that'll lead to more places that you can submit your work. As far as galleries, I wouldn't say galleries hang out on a platform like this, but people who have their work in galleries, some of them hang out in on a platform like this. And so you can meet them, build your connections, learn. So yeah, I think it's something really interesting and different from the other platforms that the studio is on. So there's that. But going back to my original point, when the galleries do searches for you, or searches of your name, of your work, all this type stuff is going to come up. So yes, it's a lot of platforms for me to manage, but it all feeds into the search engine, because curators, if they have openings, they're looking for new artists. And when they find new artists and they're interested in your work, I'm gonna say this. Don't get frustrated, or frustrated is not the right word. You have to be patient, because now they're looking for artists to fill next year's calendar, right? They're always looking a year ahead of where they actually are. So like in January, you're going to see the artists that they, I can't think of the word I'm looking for. The artists they set aside last year, they're going to start marketing them this year and exhibiting their work this year. So January 2024, they started looking for artists and bringing them on board. And they'll say, okay, January 2025 is when you're going to have a month or 2-3 months in the gallery, right? So they're always looking a year ahead. So right now, if you go to them and say, okay, I want to show my work in your gallery next month, next month's probably already full. Everything's already planned. Brochure's already made. Like, you're not going to be in the gallery next month. So you have to keep that in mind, that the big opening that you want to tell everybody that's going to happen, if you're starting now, the opening might not happen until a year from now. And that's just hard to get away from. all your contests that are open, the contest openings that are happening now, those aren't going to be on exhibit until summer, fall, the beginning of next year, that type of thing. So you always have to submit your work as much as possible and understand that you're going to play the long game, that you're going to have to wait. For the major galleries, you'll probably have to wait. Smaller galleries, not so much, but major galleries, for sure. It's a waiting game. But look for the openings now. Get on their radar right now. And even if they come back and you get a rejection letter, at least you're on their radar. They saw your work. If they're interested in your work, they'll say, okay, you don't fit with this particular exhibition, but it can be another exhibition down the road that your work fits in better, right? So that's something that I had to get used to as well. I had to get used to that as well. What else is there? I think I only had 3 steps, but like each one had like bullet points that I wanted to go over. But yeah, that was my last point for step 2, is generate sales, generate engagement, get people talking about your work. And if you show your work to the right person, to the right collector, some collectors are just comfortable going through their gallery that they're used to working with and saying, okay, I want to buy this person's work, right? So yeah. So the final step, step 3, I have evaluate your work during your gallery search. Because there's some galleries that I love to be a part of, especially those in New York. My work does not fit. The style of the work doesn't fit. And unfortunately, if you have any work that's religious or political or kicks against some sort of narrative in society or culture, then it's going to be rough to get your work in, because the gallery is not just representing that individual piece or set of pieces that you have on exhibit. Collectors are going to want to see everything, right? And so if you have certain subjects that are not popular, then that can hinder you from getting your work in certain galleries. And I'll show you guys a perfect example. Let me switch over. Because my first series that received a lot of attention was the Dark Light series. And this one is really like, it's all Christian work. And I created this in 2009, and it's still probably top 3 still, as far as like how people react to my work. Probably still top 3 as far as a series of work that I put together. And I think it's the first or the second series I ever put together, because I started in 2008, I think, with my series. So or with just capturing photographs with the DSLR, I started in 2008. So this was around the fall 2009. Um, and then this one became the one that kicked off my career. Like, I can't really say officially, but it was, my career wasn't going anywhere. Like, I couldn't get any real traction consistently. And like in the States or overseas, I couldn't get any real traction. So yeah, this is the one that got my career going. And it was funny because I submitted this to a gallery in Switzerland. They're based in Switzerland. And the Switzerland gallery was coming to the Spectrum Miami Art Fair, which happens every December. So obviously I can't afford to have my work exhibited there on my own. So you basically look for a sponsor, someone to sponsor your work, say, okay, we're going to show your work to our network and to whoever visits the art fairs, right? So, but you had to I had to enter into a competition, and I did enter into the competition. It was $50. And this is in 2016, fall 2016. Yeah, fall 2016, $50 I entered. And I've told this story before, but out of, I don't know, they had a lot of submissions, right? But I got into the top 3 with this one. And that December, Spectrum Miami's with like a 3-4 day event. So it's like usually December 4th through the 7th, somewhere in there. So everyone who attends, they were able to vote on the 3 pieces that were the finalists. And I won the vote by like 2%, 3%, something. It was close. Every piece had at least 30%. Like out of the 3, like each piece had over 30% of the vote. At least 30% of the vote. So I had like 33 point something. I barely won. And so if you win, or when you win, you get a 1-year artist residency in Switzerland. And so I think I added some photos of that too. So for the year 2017, I was there. Let's see, where did I put it? Yeah, so there's the winner. 2017 artist residency. This is one of the banners that was hanging outside of the pavilion. So these are the 3 finalists. This one's a painting. This was crazy. It was like sculpture, but painted over on canvas. It was a lot going on. Anyway. And then this is mine. And so I do have to say that I didn't have any hope. Like, it took me over 2 weeks just to submit the work, because one of the owners sent me an email and they just said, we want you to submit some work to the art fair. And at that point, Yeah, it was fall 2016. So I started July 2012. Um, July 2016, I just quit because I wasn't going anywhere. And I quit for like 2 months, maybe 3 months, something like that. Just put all the photography stuff away, put everything away because I was like just getting rejection letters and I was spending all this money on, exhibition fees and printing out samples and marketing and doing all this stuff. It wasn't getting any traction. And so, yeah, I just quit. Um, I would say, 3, 4 years later. And so, yeah, July 2016, I quit. As the week started to go by, I just felt empty, like, what am I going to do now with my life? Because that was where all of my attention and passion and everything was going. And so I felt kind of empty, but I still didn't have enough faith that, my work could go anywhere. So yeah, after she sent me the email to enter, after a couple of weeks, I just finally decided, okay, I'll take $50. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch, right? I'm going to go ahead and enter. And she said, if your work is good enough, it's going to be on the digital display, like the television screen. It's going to be up there. So I'm like, okay, it can be up there, a part of the slideshow presentation. That'll be great, or that'll be something. But if you were one of the finalists, the 3 finalists, then your work actually got printed. So my work's actually hanging up there, and people were able to vote on these machines. And so yeah, it was the largest art fair I had ever been a part of. And I had never outright won a competition. So, and I had never been a resident artist anywhere. So it was like such a huge achievement that it gave me enough faith to start, creating work again. So, but yeah, it just goes back to you have to put your best work out there. And I mean, with the submission at that time, I was in a bad place. I didn't want to spend the $50 to enter. I was just, it was rough. It was rough. But I said, okay, if I'm going to spend the $50, I can only enter one image. What image is that going to be? And I picked that one. So even though it was a Christian themed portrait, I just felt like enough people had reacted to that particular photograph that I'm like, okay, this has to be the one that I enter. So yeah, it's crazy, but obviously it turned my career around for sure. And I still work with that team. Like I worked with that team the end of last year in November. So yeah, it's you just have to keep going for sure. You have to keep going, and you have to make sure that your work is good, because you're going to run into I really don't want to call it negative feedback. You're going to run into other artists slighting you, other photographers slighting you. You're gonna your faith is definitely going to be tested for sure. And you may even go through the same thing I did, where you get to a point where it's like, I can't do it anymore. Yeah. And then after that, 2017 through 2019 was pretty good. Pretty good. 2017 to 2019 was pretty good. And then the pandemic happened. February, March, around that time. And I hit another wall. I hit another wall, and it turned back into a struggle. One of the galleries I was working with in Bristol, United Kingdom, I sold work there, but they shut down everything. So she had to close her gallery, which means that I didn't have that outlet to show my work in anymore. And I do have I think I had a piece that, one of the pieces that sold. Hold on. It's in here. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so this is in Bristol, United Kingdom. And this was, I think it was a 20 by 20. And I have it behind me. Yeah, it's on the wall up there. Obviously not the same one, but it's the same photograph. I just printed it out again. But yeah, this one sold, and I was getting a lot of good feedback from there, but the entire gallery had to close. I mean, everything started shutting down. So I got to a point where last year, the beginning of last year, I was gonna stop again. Like, I was ready to pack up everything for good and focus more on screenwriting, which I have, coming into this year. But I wasn't gonna really create anything else in terms of photography. So I started closing off everything the beginning of last year, and got another email. Another opportunity to show my work digitally, and this also overseas. So let me see if I can pull it up here on Instagram. Here we go. Yeah, so this one's Paris. So they have a gallery there. Those are the three that were on the screen. I think I have, So I sent them pretty large files because I think the monitor is 4K. So I wanted to make sure that the work I send them, when it's on a screen like that, you don't want it to look pixelated. So it looks really good. It looks really good. But I feel like my work doesn't sell as well on a monitor. It definitely has to be printed out. So my next submissions are going to be the work has to be printed. That's what I'm gonna go for this year. But yeah, that's in Paris. And then yeah, this is the Art Expo Paris last year, 2024. So I mean, it was a good turnout. It was a good turnout. It's just I found that digitally, when you're on a presentation screen like that, there's a lot of artists that are shown. So if you're not there to represent your work, then it's harder to get noticed, right? So when they have a presentation here in the States that I can travel to, then I definitely want to do that, because I think selling your work that way is more effective. Either if it's going to be digital, make sure you can travel there to the exhibit on opening day, opening night, so that you can talk about your work, answer questions, etc. But if you show your work overseas and you can't travel there, I would definitely say go with your physical work, unless your work still sells well on screen. But mine, it doesn't, or it hasn't to this point. So this one was in Switzerland, Zug, Switzerland. So they actually, after that Paris show, the Thompson Gallery requested this one, which is masonry, the black and white, because I mean they liked it. But again, I'm looking at it and it's fine, but it's not as good in my mind on screen as it would be like the physical print on the wall. So yep, there's that one there. There's that one. And then the next one was in Spain. This one, yeah, Palma de Mallorca. Hopefully I'm not messing up the name too bad. Very nice space. And then here's my, now it looks really good. It looks good. Even on the screen, it looks good. But it's just you don't have as much time because it's not always there. So there's that part of it. But obviously, galleries have the opportunity to show more artists' work and see how people react to the work. And if they react very well to your work, then you'll have the opportunity to, if it's from a digital space, you'll have an opportunity to show physical prints there, or they'll take physical prints and put them in their inventory to have on hand just in case someone wants to buy it. So there was that. So yeah, I went from almost closing the studio again for the second time to digitally having the work shown in France, in Switzerland, in Spain, to close out last year. And so far this year, my energy's back. My curiosity for new work is coming back. And I feel like I have a better sense of how to balance my fine art photography and my writing. So, yeah. It's a roller coaster. It's not a straight line to success. And there's no guarantees that your work will sell. So what happened the past couple of years, I invested so much of my resources into having my work shown. And then it just stopped moving, it stopped moving. And so I went into last year thinking, okay, cut down on the overhead, pay off certain things, because here's the thing. There's a lot of fees, the insurance, the marketing, printing everything out, like all of that. It's a lot. It's expensive. So there's no guarantee that what you invest in it in a show, you're going to get that back. If you don't sell enough pieces to cover your expenses, you're losing money, right? So that's what was happening to me. And it got to a point where I just decided, especially last year, to start getting rid of any of the debt or any losses that I had. Just start either paying things off or, cutting off things I didn't need, subscriptions and software, whatever, reeling everything in. So, and also internationally, you have to go through customs, and that's another fee and everything. And so it was just like I was taking on all these expenses, and not enough return on investment. So if you don't have enough return on investment, the business is going to go underwater, and you can't function like that. The business can't function like that. So yeah, that's where I was. And so even with the digital exhibitions I had to close 2024, I was more decisive, strategic in terms of what I spent, where I put the resources, so that if I didn't have a return on investment, I wasn't going to sink from that, right? So now 2025, my focus is to improve my style, because I have been entering competitions and stuff. But it's been a reoccurring theme of my work is not doesn't fit a certain style, and so I'm not getting any traction with that. And so now I'm thinking of how I can tweak my style this year, but it's still my style. I don't want to have like a carbon copy of what other artists are doing. Um, so how can I get closer in style to what's popular, but still be unique, like to myself, like true to what I want to create? And so I'm juggling some things, and like I alluded to before, I changed or upgraded my lighting. I finally changed my background last week. I did a lot of tweaks, upgrades, improvements, that type of thing, but at the same time, decreased my overhead by a lot, like over 50% decreased my overhead. So I'm being more careful, right? Because it's like some people will tell you, like, swing big, swing for the fences, go for a home run. Problem is, you swing big and you miss, it can really hurt you. And that's what I did before. Swung really big, too many times, missed more than I hit, and it's like my budget, everything suffered for it, right? So now I'm doing more research, and like I said, being more careful. And also, one more thing internationally. For me, more times than not, I never meet the staff, the curators, right? Like physically meet them. I can't afford to travel. I can't afford to travel overseas. So you really have to build relationships and make sure that you're working with real people. Make sure that you're not working with someone who's trying to scam you. So do your research before you send money on fees, whatever. Do your research, because you have a lot of magazine publications, whether it's digital publications or print publications. You have a lot of galleries. You have some art fairs that they're only trying to get the money from you. And once they get the money from you, they might as well, ghost you, because the communication can be bad. The presentation of your work can be bad. It's just a lot of things going wrong. And then there's also some that you get the money and you give the money or you pay the fees, and then you find out that that's not a legitimate gallery or publication, right? So always do your research. If something does not add up, then skip it. It's not worth it, right? So just be careful where you're getting your submission information from, right? Don't just submit your work in everything, like with any gallery or any publication or any online venue. Like, don't just submit your work everywhere, because you'll waste a lot of money, just a lot of money, and there's no return on investment. So you'll put in all these funds, and then there's nothing. You don't sell anything. There's no leads. There's no interest. You don't get any calls or any contact from other galleries who saw your work in a particular spot. So you have to be careful with that. So yeah, do your research, because when artists start having a bad experience with a certain organization or gallery or publication, they will put it online. You know, because the artist network, like, people start talking to other people, right? And when I run into things, I would usually say, this is the problem that I had, right? So yeah, always be careful. Like, I've gotten checks for $2,000, $4,000 that it got to a point where I didn't even have to check it with my bank anymore. Like, once I got it in the mail, I already knew it was fake, So I still take it to the bank. I turn it into them. I give them the envelope, paperwork, the actual check. I don't try to cash it. I just say, this is not good. And then they can track it to whoever sent it. Find out who really sent the check, and then they can legally go after them, stuff like that. And obviously it feels bad. It feels bad. But these things happen. So, and I think that one check I had for $4,000, it was from Egypt. Like, literally from Egypt. So when your work starts going international, it just brings on more predators, more people trying to scam you. You just open yourself up to more scams. Unfortunately, that's just what happens. So you have to go to the major art fairs, major publications, major galleries as much as possible. And if it's a smaller gallery or publication, make sure that you get to know the staff, get to know the curators. And if they're overseas, you can schedule Zoom calls, meetings, like, get to know them, get to know the artists that they've worked with to make sure they're reputable. But I would tell artists, like, don't be thirsty. I don't know if kids still use that term, thirsty, but don't be thirsty. You can't be desperate, because scammers can sense desperation. And they'll tell you all this stuff that you want to hear. They're going to buy all this stuff. You can't be desperate, right? Even if you really need the funds to keep your studio going, you cannot be desperate. You have to continue to make good work and wait for the right opportunity. And again, like I said at the beginning, is the right opportunity may be you submit the work now and a major gallery tells you, well, we don't have an opening until January 2026. And you have to swallow that. Right. You have to swallow that. And my mom actually told me that when I was younger. When I first, I think it was 2006, 2007, I started testing the waters around how people would react to my work. And one of the first letters I got back, which I showed to my mom, it was like, yeah, we're interested in your work, but you're going to have to come back at this time next year. And it's like I threw that letter in the garbage. I didn't even go back the following year. My mom was like, you have to wait. If it's a good opportunity, then it's worth waiting a year, right? Even with writing, it's like if you go with a major publisher, they're going to make you wait a year before your work even comes out and hits the shelves, which is one of the main reasons I started self-publishing my work. It's crazy. So if you're writing about something that's current and a major publisher picks it up and they'll say, okay, this time next year it's going to release. This time next year, is that work still going to be current? Is it going to be outdated? Like the landscape just changes a year from now. So it gets man, it's rough, but I have a hard time building an audience. I've had a hard time building an audience because of how shy I am, and gosh, it just feels like I'm just getting out of that. But you need to go through someone else's network. If you don't have a network, if you don't have a platform, a major platform, you need to work with someone who does, because you have to be seen. Your work has to be seen by a broad audience. And of course, not everyone's going to like your work. Not everyone's going to agree with the message behind your work, but you just have to be yourself, stay true to your message. And you can't try to make sure that everyone likes you or everyone agrees with you, because not everyone will. So if you try to be someone you're not just to get certain organizations or whatever to accept your work, you're doing a disservice to yourself. And ultimately, you're going to come back to who you are, right? And in the gallery or wherever, they're not going to want to work with you anymore. They're just not. So, yes, some places will just turn you down, and you'll have to find your space where you fit. You just have to find it. But I think that's all I have for this. I wish my points would have been more organized, but I'll just go back over them briefly. Step 1, artist statement, biography, your backstory. Get all that written out, because it gives you a better idea of what your foundation is, what you stand for, right? What you stand for. And yeah, that's definitely your foundation. Like, you're telling people who you are, right? You're telling people who you are. And also your portrait. Your portrait. Now, I just took, hopefully, what's going to be my new portrait yesterday, but this is from last year. I definitely want to update it. But yeah, that would be step 1. Artist statement, biography, backstory. Include a professional portrait there, because that's, it's you. And of course, photography, I took this myself. So, yeah. I'm not very good with editing, like my skin and all of that, but I tried. I watched some tutorials and everything online, and I tried to make it really fancy. So there's that. Step 2 would be earn your space. Develop your art style. Quality over quantity. and start generating sales and or engagement for your work, because galleries and publications, they're looking for someone who already has an audience, or at least a perception of someone who already has an audience. Or if you don't have an audience, your work has to be good enough to where they're like, okay, our audience is going to like this. The audience that they have is going to respond well to your work, right? Which means that the way your work is presented has to be on point. So maybe you're not, maybe you don't feel like a professional, but you have to present yourself and your work like you're a professional. And then the last one, step 3, evaluate your work during your gallery search. So while you're getting acceptance letters, rejection letters, evaluate your work. Is your style right for this particular gallery or the publication or wherever you're trying to, exhibit your work? Is your work the right style? And also the right message. If the message that your work gives is not in sync with the gallery, publication, wherever, it's not going to work, right? So don't waste money. Do not waste money submitting your work to places that are not, you just, by looking at their message and their style of work that they already have, if your message and style doesn't fit in that, I feel like it's a waste of your money and time, and it's a waste of their time submitting your work there, because you're just going to get another rejection letter, or they're not going to respond at all, right? So yeah, my final point was, does your work speak the same language? So can your work be drastically different and you still get accepted? Yes, but it's you're just gonna have to take that chance if that's what you want to do. Like if you're like just dead set on, I want my work in this particular gallery, then by all means go for it. But I'm just saying, style, art style, message, does it fit, right? Because I'm going to tell you what they won't do, what curators will not do. If you have, I don't know, what can I pick? Women's rights, right? They have an exhibit with different artists, but all their works are centered around women's rights. And then you want to submit a work that's the opposite of that, and you want to talk about men, that's not going to go. That's not going to fly. Like, it's not. So look at the theme that curators want to have for that particular exhibit. Does your work fit in that theme? If it does, great, by all means, go for it. If your work is on the fringe, on the edge, maybe not, okay, you can still submit it. If your work doesn't fit in the theme at all and you submit the work, all you're going to do is annoy them. You're going to annoy the curators. You're going to annoy the judges, because they're going to feel like you're purposefully wasting their time. And then they might blacklist you. Like, maybe the next go around, the next exhibition, you actually submit something that's in the correct theme, correct style, this correct message. But they're going to remember you from the last time and decide, we don't want to work with this person because they got on our nerves from the exhibition before, the submissions before. So yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Just, yeah, don't. So follow the theme, Um, Follow all the directions. If they say the theme is landscape, don't send abstract. If they say the theme is automobiles, don't send portraits. If they say the theme is black and white, do not send them color photography. It's just you're kicking yourself out of the game. Like, you're not giving yourself a chance to win, to be successful at all. If they say send JPEG format files, don't send them a TIFF or a PDF or a PSD. Like, send them a JPEG. If they say the dimensions are supposed to be 2,500 pixels on the longest side, don't send them something that's 5,000 pixels on the longest side. Right? Like, follow all the directions. I would say about half of artists submitting work, they get their work thrown out because they're not following the directions. They're not following the theme. They're not following dimensions. They're not following just format, whatever it may be. Just follow everything, right? And of course, if you submit something after the deadline, they're not going to accept your submission. So you can't get upset about that either. And obviously, this is not just for international galleries. This is for, galleries at home where you are. But yeah, this stuff is the same. But yes, for me, and I wouldn't say fake it till you make it. You have to be successful before you are successful. Which, I don't know if that makes sense, but you have to have, or like they say in basketball, the NBA, you have to have championship habits before you can win the championship. You have to have the discipline and all of that before you can actually win, right? So that's what it is in the art world as well, is you have to approach everything as your work is already internationally shown before you can show your work internationally. You just have to carry yourself like that. And if you carry yourself like that, then the curators can see that, okay, this person we can market this person because this is how they're carrying themselves. And this is what the quality of their work is. This is the quality. This is how they carry themselves. This is how they promote their work. They can see it all, right? So they don't really have to put that much faith into you. They don't have to have that much faith in you because they're looking at it. You have to show them, right? So if you show them that you're professional, they really don't have to have faith in you that you're going to be professional. That's just what it is. And again, that's what I'm working on. Like I posted on Instagram, and before I go, I'll just let you guys know this. I posted on Instagram my book. Let me bring this up really quick. So yeah, this is the book that I practically got it for free because the Sal Digital company, they saw my work. They sent me a voucher, and so this particular book, I didn't have to pay for much of it. Like 90 to 95% of it was covered with a voucher. I just added pages onto it. Um, yeah. And so I finally photographed it over the weekend and letting you guys see it, you know. So let me put it in the camera here. Yeah, there it is. I really like it. I don't even know if I can get it all on here. But yeah. So much glare. Glossy paper. Glossy, really nice. So yeah. Some of the photos came out too dark. So I have to ask him about that, if I can fix the profile, the color profile with that. But that's the type of book that I would want to use as a portfolio to show. There's another photo lab that they just started creating books, or we have the option to create books. And so I would say by June, I want to order one of those. I don't have a voucher for it, but I'm going to have to order it. They're expensive, but I feel like I can create some new work within the next few months. And then by June, just print something out. And then from that point, start to have more face-to-face meetings to where they can see my work printed out instead of just on screen. So that's my goal. The first quarter for this year, I'm wrapping up what I was doing in 2024, which was paying off a bunch of stuff. I'm really close. I've got 2 more accounts that I'm focused on paying off. So the first quarter of this year, I really do want to get that done. I want to get that done. Excuse me. And then I feel like I can start off on a clean slate in terms of my budget. And, obviously I should have showed you guys this before. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull this up. A really good place to start in terms of where to look for galleries. I know I saved it. Here it is. Okay. Hold on, let me. Okay, so this is artworkarchive.com. This is not expensive. It's like, what's this, $9 a month I have? There's different tiers, right? So I didn't go like top tier like I did before. I went the bottom tier, but they have a lot of good places where you can submit. Hold on, let me look for the right page first. I'm going to look for the right page because I don't want to show any artwork on here that's like weird. Let me see. I think it's under resources. Yeah, some of the artwork on here is weird. So I don't want to show that. There's a lot of stuff on here. Well, they have a page, and I can bring it back up now. So this is for video tutorials, right? But they under resources, they've got guides, webinars, the art blog. They've got calls for entry. And then this is the 2025 opportunity guide. So you would click on that. And this is everything that they have for this year. So all calls, they got grants, awards, residencies, education, exhibitions, competitions, open calls. You can also select everything that's free to apply. And if something is ongoing, that means that it's just a rolling deadline. Like there's really no deadline. They probably go month to month, like every 30 days or so, or every month. So you can filter it out depending on what you're looking for. But they are a really good source. So yeah, it's artworkarchive.com / call for entry. But yeah, just look under resources up here in the navigation bar, and you'll see the drop down. And then as far as pricing, this is their tiers. So I am a member. I don't know if they'll give me a link so you guys can get a discount. But if they do, I'll just add that to the description box if I can find one. But I don't know if they offer one. Right here, they will give you the 14-day free trial. But the thing about that is this, I almost went with them to host my website, but their UI, their user interface is so complicated. I'm like, no, I don't want to go through all this. But anyway, so yeah, they have a lot of opportunities that, you can look into. But for me, for me with photography, you have to make sure that photography is actually accepted, because not all places accept photography, right? But yeah, some of them go by location. So definitely read the fine print to make sure that you're actually eligible. Because sometimes certain competitions are regional. You have to be in a certain region or a specific state. Sometimes it's down to a county if it's really local. And then sometimes you have to be careful because some galleries want exclusive rights. And then sometimes they'll want rights for a particular region, a particular state, same thing. So make sure you go ahead and read all the fine print on exclusive rights, location, mediums that are accepted or not accepted, all of that. So just make sure you go through all that stuff. But I would just, when you find something that fits, submit your best work. And then whenever you have an exhibit, if you can't attend, if you cannot attend, a lot of times the curators will send you, the staff will send you photographs um, of your work on exhibit. And obviously, if you can attend, like this one was local. So there's my work there on the side, these three here. And then I was able to attend myself. Lord have mercy, I wish I would have wore a better jacket, but yeah. And then obviously this one, United Kingdom, I wasn't able to attend, but they sent me a video of my work, and this piece did sell. So yeah, they do all of because the collectors will come in, and if the price is too high, they'll negotiate, or if they want to buy more than one piece, they want to get a discount. The gallery gets their percentage, so you have to make sure that your work is priced high enough so that if they do sell at a discount because of multiple pieces were sold, something like that, to one collector, you still have to cover your cost, and you have to pay yourself, right? You have to pay your own salary. So, yeah, if people come along and say, why is your work priced at this rate? There's a lot of expenses that go into it that have to be covered. So you have to pay the gallery, you have to pay for the shipping, printing, insurance, custom fees when it first goes over there. If the work doesn't sell, you have to pay for your work to come back. Unless you've already created an agreement that the gallery is going to keep it there in stock. But you do all that before, the contract is signed. So definitely read the fine print. Not sure why this photo is not coming up, but I have to see. But yeah, these are local. That was third place. And then that one, I printed it out a lot larger up here. So yeah. So like I said, the first quarter of this year, I'm going to finish what I started with last year in terms of paying off some things. And like I said, I got 2 accounts left. And then I figure by June, I'll have some new work done, new projects that'll be finished. And then I have to start photographing the actual prints, ordering the actual prints at a pretty decent size. So that's costly, right? So I just decided that before I start doing that, ordering more stuff, that I was going to pay off some more accounts. So I feel better. I feel better about that. And then obviously there's grants. If I'm awarded any grants, it'll help speed up the process. But I'm just being more cautious, but moving forward at the same time. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions, because I know I went probably twice as long as I thought I was going to go. But if you have any questions, just let me know, and I will address that in the next the next podcast I have. But everybody stay warm. It's cold here in Florida too. We're under a freeze advisory. We might actually have sleet tonight going into tomorrow morning. Definitely frost, but maybe snow, because I'm on the northern part of the state, so maybe snow. A little bit. I'm not sure, but it's supposed to be like cold. So I'm gonna work from home tomorrow. My boss is letting me work from home tomorrow on my day job. So I'm just gonna be bundled up and see how cold it gets. See what I can see from out the window, from inside. But see what I can see, looking out the window. But yeah, everybody, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Take care.